you can sit on a stool. Anyway, thank you guys all for coming and for those on the live. I'm going to have Joanna come up and say a prayer, and then we'll get started. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for the weather that we've been having, the rain and the sunshine now. God, I pray for Joanna as she shares tonight that you would just be with her and calm any nerves she may have. I just pray that you would bless everyone that hears her story, and just pray that we all have a good night. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Okay. Well, like I said to the ladies here beforehand, my story is my story, and it's if you can learn something from it, praise the Lord. I will have to give you a little bit background about myself to make the story more understandable. I am number 9 of 10 children, and there's 6 boys and 4 girls, and my dad and his brother, they were married to sisters, and together they bought a farm in Cochrannville, and that's where I grew up. Cochrannville is in Chester County. So there was 2 houses on the farm, and they farmed together, and so there was always people there. My aunt and uncle had 5 children, so a total around the farm was 15 children plus the adults. And so you didn't really have a whole lot of necessarily quiet time or alone time. There was usually someone around. So, and age-wise, this is what intrigues me when I look back on it, and it kind of makes up who I am, is I have a brother who's 2 years older than me, and then there's a cousin in there that is like a year and a half older than me, and it was me, and then I have a cousin who is not quite a year younger, and then my youngest sister who was 3 years younger. So when we were playing, if I was mad at the one person, there was always the other person to hang out with. So, and there wasn't a lot of that, but I just remember that sometimes we were the best of buds, and the next time it was like, didn't really want anything to do with them. So, and so growing up, I was used to either having my cousin, who was the year younger than me, either her or my sister, younger sister, to do things with. Like, I would go with her if she needed a girl to go with her wherever they were going. If she was going to be the lone girl, I was her number 2. And for me, with my younger sister, I always had her when we went places, which could count on her. And so I think of that, and I think there was always, there was a 7-year gap between me and the sister above me. And so I kind of had to step out. Like, when we went somewhere, like we're invited away for lunch or something like that, I still had to be the older of the girls, but I was okay with that as long as I had that pal, as long as I had somebody there beside me to help me out. And then, yeah, so going to school was it was okay, I did okay, but that was a little bit of a stretch because I had to do that on my own. And another part of my story that makes me who I am is by 2nd grade I had started to grow, put on weight, and I was always around little girl, and so not necessarily that people were mean to me, but I always was very aware of that. Like, I couldn't run and play like everybody else, and I couldn't I don't know. It's just, you're just aware of it. You're very aware of it. And so by the time I was finished school, I was 14 years old and finishing 8th grade. And that's when this is intriguing to me, the very last day of my 8th grade year, that the morning, I don't even know how to explain this. So the school year ended, but we were going to have a graduation, 8th grade graduation the next night. And I had brought a friend home, and we were going to go, she was going to go with me together the next day. And that morning, early in the morning, my mom woke us up and said that she's taking my dad to the ER, that there's something wrong with his arm. Like there was like red streaks up his arm. And so they did that, and he had cellulitis. He must have got a cut or a scratch or something, and it got infected, and that's what that was. And with that, they discovered that his CLL, which is chronic lymphatic leukemia, was flared up, or I should say was getting worse. Here, unbeknownst to us younger children, he'd had it for several years. They just hadn't told us. They had kept it to themselves because it wasn't causing issues or anything of the sort. They were just watching it. So I was 14 years old, and just finished 8th grade, so that meant I was done with school, and I forget some of the details. I'm pretty sure that Dad started treatments that fall for his CLL, because I remember having to do like the laundry and all that stuff, and I remember I would have times of when I thought, I'm going to really do this really well, and then get tired of it, and end up not doing as well as I thought I was going to do. But that was at 15. When I was 15, I was doing the laundry and making meals and stuff, because he would go for treatments 4 days a week, and every 4 weeks, if I'm not wrong. Like I said, some of the details are a little sketchy. But anyway, and at this point in my life, guess what I was looking forward to? Just being a teenager. I just wanted to be a teenager and do all the fun things that teenagers do. And time went on. I don't know exactly how things came in timeline right now. When I was thinking back when I was like, I would have had to do some really researching. But I know that when, before I turned 16, he broke his ankle. I think it was when they were fixing up my brother bought the cows. Okay, I feel like I need to back up here a little bit. By this time, there was only 4 of us at home. The rest were all married in my family. And I don't remember about my cousins which ones would have been married and which ones weren't. But anyway, so the help on the farm was dwindling, is my point in saying this. So it was down to girls and a couple boys. And so we're going to sell the cows to my one brother, and they were going to move in the other half of our house. So they were fixing up the house to get ready for them. In the meantime, my dad broke his ankle, so that put him not being able to do anything. So my cousin, who was my pal, best buddy, her and I did the milking morning and evening for several months. And so, like I said, I was 15 and I was out of school, and so my life was supposed to be breezy. I shouldn't have had to do more than I had to. And here I am having to milk the cows morning and evening, and okay. Anyway, so then, my brother bought the cows, they moved in, and there in itself was one of the first, not one of the first, but, first, second changes. We went from having to a big farmhouse to ourselves to half, and having another family in the other half of the house. Even if it is your brother, it's just not the same. So, and I started at 16, I got a full-time job, and life went on. I seriously really remember Mom and Dad either did a very good job of playing things off as being okay, as not too big. I mean, we knew there was stuff going on, but they must have left us under the impression that things aren't too bad. Enough that, and when I say us, I mean us younger ones that were there at home. I was living life, doing my thing, and it was all pretty good until I think it was, and then I had a brother get married in 91, and so there was 3 of us at home, and then winter of 91 and spring of 92, things went downhill. And what brings this really home to me was my dad was 50. I'll be 49 in September. And so I kind of thought he was old when this happened, believe it or not. But well, now that I'm that age, I'm like, they were not old people. I mean, seriously, wow. They were going through a lot. And so, yeah. The end of February of 92, he got pneumonia. And with something like what he was battling, his body could not fight off the pneumonia. And so one of the last days of February, my aunt and uncle and friends of theirs picked us up at, I was working at a farmer's market at that time, and they picked us up there, and they said, we're going to take you into the hospital. And nothing a whole lot was said. Like, I just remember we were like, okay, like, we're supposed to go to the hospital, okay. And we got in there, and I soon gathered that, like, we were supposed to talk to Dad. Like, this was maybe one of the last times we would talk to him. And so we did that, and that night we went home. I know we did not go home. I went home. I'm not sure, my younger sister did too, but I can't remember who else. But we went with my brother to his house overnight. And I remember there, like, laying there and just thinking, you know what, this is it. Like, my dad's going to be gone. And I wasn't dating, so he would never see my husband if I ever get married. He would never see my children. And just the reality of that, yeah, like, nothing's going to be the same. And I had noticed, oddly enough, I had noticed in a subconscious way that when my siblings reached teenagers and older, the relationship with Dad got different. It was different. Like, he could relate better with them. And so I was really honestly looking forward to that change in our relationship, that I could, yeah, maybe have a more of a grown-up relationship with him. So then I knew that wouldn't happen either. I was never going to experience that either. And so then, yes, March the 4th was a Wednesday. They picked me up at work, and we went to the hospital, and they said that on the day that we had talked to him, they had put him on a ventilator. That's why they had us come and talk to him, because you can't talk obviously with a ventilator in. And they said Wednesday that his body's shutting down. There's nothing more they can do. So they wanted us all to be there. And when they unplugged the ventilator, so all the family was there around his bed, and they unplugged him. And yeah, it didn't go long at all until he passed. I really feel fortunate that I was there when that happened. Like, it would have been harder for me if I would have been somewhere else and they would have called and said, hey, he passed. So the fact that we could be there was to me was part of the healing. But then began. We went home. The viewing was at our house. All the neighbors came to clean the house. There was always somebody there from that day until the funeral. And I just remember thinking, would these people please just go away? Like, so I can just go, and I don't know why, but I just remember thinking, just go away. And that's part of my learning to withdraw. Like when I said growing up, it was easiest for me to not be seen, or try not to be seen. That was the easiest way for me to cope with life, was just, yeah. For me to deal with this, I needed some time alone, and that was wasn't there. And that's okay, that's kind of the way it went. I did have a time with, since the body was there, I did have a time when I was there by myself with the body, and I felt too there was an opportunity for me to just let go and just express what I was feeling and all that. And yeah, so from there on out, I remember thinking, oh great, now what? Now what happens from here? And I knew right off the bat that I did not need more bosses in my life. just because my dad was gone, I did not need people to step in and tell me what to do with my life. I told my mom that too. And so, yeah. So they decided, obviously, that they can no longer keep the farm going. There wasn't enough of help. And so they sold the farm. That was that summer of '92. And we had to look for another place to live. And I like I said, I grew up in Chester County. And there was literally one other church family like 5 miles from us, or no, not one, there was 2. But there was nobody like real close that church-wise. And so when I was hanging out with my friends and stuff, they all lived in the Ephrata area or the Lebanon area. And so we were aiming for like New Holland area. That's kind of where we were looking for houses. And I remember looking at a couple of them, but it's really amazing to me how much of that whole summer is just, I don't remember it. Like I don't remember details. I don't know what was happening at home. I hadn't decided. I mean, in my subconscious, or whatever you want to call it, my way of handling it was to keep myself busy and not be at home. Weekends, I was going from Friday to Sunday night. I had a full-time job. I added one day at market a week, so I was working full-time. I was working every day of the week. Plus, I was selling Tupperware on the side. So I got to a point that summer where I would come home from work. I don't remember if I was around till 7. It's like I probably came home like late afternoon, and probably after supper time, which we usually had early, I would go up to my room and spend the rest of the night in my room. I would have the radio playing, and I would be in my room, and I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't fall asleep until like early morning, and I had to get up again at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't getting sleep, and I know it was just the whole stress of everything that was going on, not dealing with what was happening. I did not want to move. This was my safe place. This is all I knew. This was where my life was. I did not handle, maybe people looking on wouldn't say it, but I did not handle changes well. Like, I knew I was going to have to get another job. We're going to have to move to a whole new neighborhood, everything. And I was like, my way of dealing with it was to not deal with it. I just keep myself busy. I'm not thinking about it. I'm going to go party and have a good time, and I guess things will happen. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I don't remember packing. I seriously don't remember. It was like, I guess my siblings did the packing. I kind of vaguely remember packing my own bedroom stuff, but I really don't remember who did most of the packing stuff. Yeah. So anyway, needless to say, did not handle that well. We moved from, my mom ended up building a new house in Kleinfeldersville. So for me, whose world was here in Carkenville in Chester County, the Gap area, that is half an hour from here, we moved to Kleinfeldersville, which is about a half an hour north of here. So I pretty much moved from one end of the earth to the other in my little world. This was pretty drastic. And the dumb thing about it is I had friends in the area and everything, but it was just the idea that everything I knew, everything that was my safe place was being changed. And yeah. So when I look back on that and I think about what I learned from that, or what I was going through, it wasn't even so much, maybe it's going to sound harsh or whatever, but it wasn't I grieved the loss of my dad as much as I grieved the loss of everything that I knew was normal, all the normal. Like I said, I grieved the loss of the relationship that I thought we were going to have. I grieved, and I didn't grieve it well. I just went through the motions of it. And we did not talk about things. You don't talk about things. You don't talk about how you're feeling. You don't talk about, My younger sister and I sometimes say, if Mom would have just sat us down and said, look, this is what I'm going through right now. This is what I need from you. Can we work this out? Can we, because we look back and we think she had so much going on in her life, and we were typical teenagers, and we were doing our thing. She can just deal with it. Anyway, so one of the things that when I was looking back at it, and what I needed, what I was grieving, was the fact that I didn't know who I was. I no longer knew who I was. Just thought about it. I don't think I went and grabbed my paper. I knew I was going to do that. I had verses printed out. Okay, anyway. Do you mind getting me my phone? Where did I leave it? Thank you. So, the question was, who was I anymore? I was no longer this girl here. I was now uprooted and I was put here. Now, who am I here? And as I was processing what I neided, what I should have had at that time. Like, this is all me looking back on it and saying, wow, because I didn't process any of this at that time, trust me. There's a verse, I will try to pull them, I can't believe I forgot, but I will try to pull them together here. There's a verse in Jeremiah, and it's a verse that God said to Jeremiah, but I think it's so fitting. Let me quick find it, I'm sorry. Here we go. Jeremiah 1:5, God said to him, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet to the nations. That was for Jeremiah, but the fact is, it's the same for us. Before we were born, God knew us. He knew what he had in mind for us. And I wish I would have known how to process what I was feeling. I really, really wish I would have known how to do that. And so part of me is, if hearing my story is, if you're going through a situation where you're feeling this way, just please have the courage to ask for help. Have the courage to say, I'm not handling this well. I'm not doing well here. And who I am, most importantly, is to be grounded in the fact that you are God's. There's a verse here too. Let me see if I can pull them up. Just can't believe I forgot that. Matthew 6:26, I think it is. Says, look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? We are so more important than the birds and everybody else. To truly grasp that, who you are, you're much more important. You're somebody. You're worth the time it takes to figure out what is going on and how do I go from here. And one of the other things I thought of that for myself was, okay, so now who am I, but what do I do with myself? I remember thinking at 18 years of age, oh, by the way, and I started dating in there too yet. I remember at 18, I would have turned 18 in September. My dad would pass away in March, so half a year later. And I remember thinking, I'm 18 and I'm not dating, I don't have a boyfriend, and my world's in turmoil. I don't know, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. My life is over, half over already. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I was 18. And I just look back and I think, wow, I just really needed somebody to get a hold of me and say, no, there's a lot more potential. There's a lot going on yet. There's a lot of things for you to do yet in this world. That is, let me see here. So what did I need? And then it says, Matthew 6 also says, feels very disorganized now to me. Not like I was organized before, but now it's really bad. Matthew 6:8 says, no, it's not Matthew. He was talking about when they were praying, he said, don't be like them. He's like, for when you pray, your Father knows already what you need. You don't even have to ask him. He knows before you even ask him. So I just look at these verses and I think, man, if I would have had known to cling to some of this stuff, to be like, you don't have to worry about what the future holds. You don't have to have it all together, but you do have to be willing to hang on to God's promises, and you do have to be willing to maybe say, I need help, or can somebody help me think this through, or and of course in our day and age, it makes me sound really old, but you didn't do counseling. Counseling was for the mental people, or for, it's just, you didn't do that. And so if I would have said I want counseling 10 to 1, I probably wouldn't have been encouraged to do that. I don't know that I even ever told anybody how I was feeling, even my best buddy. Like, we just went on doing life. We just pretended everything was the same, and nothing changed. We just went on doing our thing. That was our way of handling it. But, and I think too, like, the thought I had that, what am I going to do with myself? At 18 years of age, I thought my life was over. And so, what does it say in Jeremiah 29:11? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to, I'll have to look it up because I can't. But that is one that I think, I don't even know if I knew that verse was there. Jeremiah 29:11 says, okay. It's taking too long to load it now. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And one thing I do want to make clear, that I'm not trying to say tonight that your life is going to be easy if you just take these verses and claim them and hang on to them, but it says there, I know the plans I have for you, and they are to prosper you. God's plan is never to bring us harm. Yes, things happen because of the sin in the world, but if we can hang on to his plans for us and know that maybe right now there's a stall, we're not sure what's going on, but the future is that we have a hope for a bright future. And let me see, that was 92, 93, February 93, we moved to Kleinfeldersville. By September 1994, I was married. So that was a very short time in the scheme of things. But it felt like really, 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 really long to me. And I think, I don't know. I don't want to stand here and fault my mom in any way, shape, or form, because my mom had so much going on of her own. But I think there were signs that I should have had some direction, clearer direction, and I don't know how that would have changed my life. But I think what I would like for people to know, if you're in a situation similar to this, where it feels like your world is out of control and you don't know what the next step is, please have the courage to talk to someone. Even if it is your best buddy, hopefully your best buddy will say, well, I think maybe you should talk to somebody else, or and if somebody comes to you in this situation, be the listening ear they need, but also be honest with them. Say, hey, maybe this needs to happen, or maybe whatever. It's just, I just think, I don't know how much pain I could have spared myself or my mother if I would have had someone who had the courage to come up to me and say, hey, things seem like they're a little bit out of control, like, how can we help you here? But yeah, here I am. Praise God. I say all the time, my mom, if nothing else, she knew she was praying mightily for me. And yeah, I'm here today, and I look back on that experience kind of in awe, because I realized again just how young they were, and to think that, yeah, that's me today. That's where I am today, and if I had to make the choices that they had to make it, and what they were going through at that time in their life, and I know there's other people who are, but my heart goes out to people that are going through that kind of a thing in their life, because if you can go through it with the right kind of support and the right kind of help, it can come out on the other side being a good thing. But if you struggle through it, and in the struggle make choices that affect you for the rest of your life, that you have consequences of, or whatever that might be, you not only look back on that time as a bad time, it's a really bad time. So yeah, my biggest thing is to leave you with tonight is to have the courage. If you're in a spot where you've lost a loved one, or your world has been changed, has been uprooted for some reason or another, get the help you need. And it's not a crime, it's not a shame, nothing shameful about getting help when we need help. So yeah, that's what I really want to leave everybody with tonight. And there was a song that I kind of thought it tied up what I was hoping to share tonight really well, and it's the song by Jeremy Camp called In My Father's Arms. And I don't know what time this is, but I was going to have Amanda play for me. And I am going to wrap up. I did not want to make this too drug out, because it's my story. It's just my version of my story. Like I said, it's not my sibling's story. It's not, yeah, it's my story. And it's not even about the fact, like I said before, it sounds really bad. I did grieve the loss of my dad, but it was more of the changes and the upheaval it brought into my life that sticks out to me than anything. It was, yeah, I did not know how to handle what I was dealing with. And so my heart goes out to those who are, yeah, who don't know where to turn for help. So anyway, I am done.
Does anyone have any questions, comments?
So, if your parents spared you from knowing your dad, would you like to know when he first was diagnosed, or do you believe that you didn't, or is that a question you don't know?
I don't know what to say to that, because I found myself in the same shoes where I thought we were being open, and here we weren't after all. So I wonder sometimes if they didn't think we knew what we didn't know. Like, you get what I'm saying by that? Like, I think maybe sometimes they thought we should have known what was going on, and we didn't. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily to fault them for it, it's just the way it happened. I think they did, honestly, knowing that there was nothing they were going to do about where he was at the very beginning. They were like, why put that on them if it's not going to change anything anyway, that part of it. We did really feel, and it's really odd, it might sound odd unless you have come from a big family, but where we were at in the family played a huge role in what we knew. Not because, like, there again is, you know, Mom probably told some of them this and we didn't hear it, or the way we viewed things. Like, you know, every person views a story differently. Like, everybody could see one thing happen and they have a different viewpoint of it. So there again, you had 10 different viewpoints of how things went down. One of the things, another thing that I do wish we would have done more of was just talking about what happened, what we were going through in general. Like, after it was over, like, we would get together every year on his birthday, but nobody even said why we were together. Nobody ever said, hey, this is Dad's birthday, hey, what would Dad have done? Nothing. We didn't talk about it. We were just together. And I just, yeah, there should have been a little more talking. But
So you didn't express your feelings?
nope. In fact, it was kind of, it made everybody uncomfortable, and so you didn't do it. Yep. And that was something, I have to be careful I don't pass that on to. We have feelings, it's just,
I think it's very important to express your feelings.
Yep. And like we said, we had to realize that, okay, so the top 6 were married by when my dad passed away, or when this all started even. So their life was different than the 4 that were at home. My sister, I was 17, my sister was 14. So a 14 experience versus a 27-year-old, I forget how far apart they are, 16 years I think. Their views are going to be very different on what was happening. That wasn't really acknowledged. What we had to see and deal with versus what they had to. Like my mom was so used to Dad being around. Like her life was revolved around Dad, and so this was huge for her. Like this was a huge upset for her. And I would come home weekends. She would be sitting on the chair crying, or we'd want to go away. She'd be crying because she didn't want to be left alone. That's hard for a teenager who just wants to be a teenager. She just wants to go do her thing, and to know that you're leaving and Mom's crying because she's alone. That was on my sister a lot more than me, my younger sister, because she was young enough. She was still at home, so she heard a lot more of that than I did. But yeah, the change was when we moved to Kleinfeldersville. The brother right above me got married in '93, June of '93, so he didn't live there long at all. And so it became 3 ladies and 3 girls at home, and actually we had a special bond. Like us, Mom and me and my younger sister, we took advantage of her, I'm not going to lie. But we also took her with us, did stuff with her that our other siblings wouldn't have done because they didn't need to. So yeah, and there was good and the bad, but she did say she'd build a house, and she's like, if I would have known, we moved there in '93. By '95, December '95, we were all married. The ones that were at home yet. She said, if I knew you were all going to leave me, I wouldn't build such a big house. Anyway, that was her, yeah. But yeah, it definitely made a bond between Mom and us that was not there or wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what something like that can do in a person's life.
And you needed each other.
Yes.
Very much.
Very much. Yeah. Yep.
You said if somebody would have came up and noticed that you were struggling, would you have been okay with just anyone? Or would it have felt like they're being nosy? Or...
Oddly enough, I was doing something that my friend, my best buddy, challenged me on over that time. And I knew what I was doing was wrong. And she said, yes, I could take it from her because she was, we were in the same, you get my point. Like, if it would, yes, it would have mattered who did it, somewhat. I hesitate to say that because if anybody would have came up to me and said, you know what, you are having a really hard time, like, you're going through a hard time in your life, like, who's listening to you, if anybody would have done that to me, I probably would have been like, wow. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? How they would have came to me would have made a huge difference. I did have the one, I think I said it in Sunday school already, that the one man that I worked with, he was probably in his 40s. He was an old man then too. And he questioned me too about something. Like Monday morning I came to work and he was like, so, and I was like, but I don't forget it. Like it just reminded me that you don't live alone in this world. Like I never felt judged by him. That's the weirdest thing. Like he said it in a way, or maybe because of how he related to me otherwise. I knew he was just nicely saying, "Hey, are you thinking?" And yeah, it's just amazing how that. And he was actually the first person who ever I worked in the meat department, and he was the assistant manager, and he's like when. The Wednesday that they called and we were supposed to go to when Dad died, we were supposed to go to the hospital. He said, "Can I pray with you before you go?" And I had never had anybody do that before in my life. So that was just things that just clicked and stuck, and were like, okay, there's people that care. There's but it just really amazed me how I could easily brush that aside too. But honestly, if somebody truly would have came to me and said, "Hey," and wouldn't have just backed off, like maybe wouldn't have said it one time and been done, maybe would have came back again and said, "Hey, I have a feeling it would have made a difference." But yeah.
Did you feel like ignored by some people? Like,
Not ignored. I felt like we were not supposed to be teenagers.
okay.
We were supposed to handle this whole thing like grown-ups, like
grown-ups.
adults, like,
Uh-huh.
and sorry,
You weren't. You weren't adult.
nope. And we look back now and go, whoo. We realize too that, wow, yeah. We didn't comprehend simply because of our age. We did not comprehend.
And you didn't have anybody your age coming up to you that went through the same thing.
Exactly, no.
Because that can be very helpful.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. I don't know that we really knew of,
And nobody knew of you.
right, yeah. And one thing that was kind of, for us, we went to the school we went to was run by BT Amish. We were like one out of maybe 5 families that were not either BT Amish or something along those lines. And so, and like I said, like church-wise, we didn't have, our church people were not in our neighborhood. So, we didn't bump into them. We would have had to drive 20 minutes to half an hour to. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your Sunday community, your church community was not somebody who was
Right.
just dropped by, and
Right.
yeah. But yeah.
So Dawn kind of asked my question,
Yeah.
but so looking back now, or like from an outsider looking in, I guess kind of even, how do you help someone in your situation? Like, if someone just walked up to you and was like, "Hey, what's wrong?"
No, see, that's why I
Like, that
said,
doesn't-
yeah.
Like, that's obviously not right, but how do you help someone? I know one of my friends is, her parents didn't die, but they're not there anymore, and I know she still grieves them really hard, and like the of them not being there, and just even trying to help her.
What does she miss about him?
Just
You get what I'm saying? Like, ask her those kind of questions. Like,
Yeah.
be like, what do you miss about? You said they're not.
they're still living. They're just
Right. It's
not
got
there.
it. Got it. That's what I thought, but I wanted to clarify. So, oh wow. Like in my mind, okay. So first off, you're her friend. Very obvious. You get what I'm saying. Just say, you know what? I can't imagine being in your shoes. But like, do you mind telling me a little about it? And like, then if she does, like, try to feed off of what she tells you, asking questions, helping her maybe dig a little deeper, because, like I said, I had stuff going on that I didn't even know how to even ask myself questions. Like, I look back now and I know I was going through a stress depression. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a point when I was working all these hours and stuff like that. Because I would be working, working 40 hours at one job, doing a whole day at market, plus selling Tupperware and running around, doing weekends. There was a point where I was shaking, like just all the time, just So I know that was stress, and that was, and yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably the way you handled it.
It is, totally is. I lived in denial. Like I kept busy. I was doing my thing. Like I
You
said,
didn't want to think about
I
it.
was not going to think about it. Yep. That's the way I handled it. And I know that it's maybe sounds really, really, to me it maybe sounds dumb, but like I said, I wouldn't have known what to ask myself. Like I wouldn't even have known to say, Joanna, what is going on? Like what's your like? Why are you doing this? Like what's your plan? I didn't even know I should be asking myself that. I was just coping. I was just doing. That's basically what it comes down to. That's about what I had. So. Yeah. Oh, please! Oh my goodness, you're kidding me! There's my paper.
Alright, I'm gonna shut down the live, but first, right before I do it, a little fun fact, I used to go to church with Joanna, and almost at least once a month I would get asked about how my mom is doing, and they'd have the whole wrong mom. I used to get asked all the time. They'd call me Adri or Abby all the time, and we'd always get confused, because I'd be like, they don't even look the same. Anyway, alright, you can shut down the live, and then I'll.